Joining us, what's the latest at the hospital currently?
Well, mop-up operations are still underway here at the Maxeke Hospital following that roof collapse earlier on. Now, 5 people have been injured in the incident, 2 of them patients who are here at the hospital. Now, a team of specialized emergency personnel are still inside the building trying to remove the concrete slab that caused the roof to collapse. And it's been a hive of activity this afternoon as emergency personnel worked around the clock to assess if there are people trapped underneath the rubble. And relatives have been gathering outside the hospital as well, worried about the safety of their loved ones. And earlier on, I spoke to one of the relatives, Judith Moya, who said she had last spoken to her sister just hours before the collapse. And this is what she had to say.
My sister is in the maternity ward. She was due to give birth today. I tried calling her, but her phone is unavailable. The whole day we've been talking, but all of a sudden I can't reach her. I spoke to her before the building collapsed.
Since we demand just told.
Well, 2 hours ago, we did also receive an update from officials confirming that all the patients had been treated and that some of them had been discharged. They've also indicated that the area will remain cordoned off and closed to the public until the investigation has been concluded. But according to the preliminary findings, they did find that the construction company did not take enough security measures to stabilize the roof. The infrastructure MEC Jacob Mamabulu says the company also failed to put the warning signs informing the patients of the work that was being carried out, and Mababulo said that they will definitely take action against that company. This is what he had to say.
When a contractor is found to have done work not in a manner that's not consistent with how they should do their work, shoddy work and all that, there are policies that we follow. One, they can be blacklisted and they are never allowed to do business ever again, and that we are going to look into. And secondly, of course, depending on further investigations, if there's any criminal liability, we will obviously take that action. We are not going to leave any stone unturned, I can assure you about that, and we're not going to blink on this matter. Anyone accountable, negligent, will take appropriate action to the end. So that's what we're going to do. At this point, if this contractor, we can see we're already removing them from site. So already we have taken concrete action. So if we're found they've done something wrong, they'll never do business with us in future and with government in general.
Well, officials have also told us that they did send sniffer dogs to establish if there were people trapped underneath the rubble, but they came back with negative results. So at this stage, all we know that is that there are no fatalities that have been reported, and we're expecting that investigation to continue well into Friday. Now, we also know as well that the area that where the incident occurred earlier on will remain shut to the public. There will be alternative entrances to the hospital that will be announced by the health officials as the time goes on. But for now, it's back to you in studio.
Before you leave us, I want to find out with regards to the roof collapsing and everything, did they not have any idea that there was going to be a problem there?
The speed.
Well, we seem to have lost our reporter there, Mangoba Mkhunu, who was giving us an update of what was taking place at the Maxeke Hospital currently. And we saw there in the visuals that the Gauteng provincial leadership is at the hospital, and decisions have been made that they will not continue working with the company that was doing the work at the hospital. And currently in studio, Gauteng Shadow Health MEC Jack Bloom joins us, and he says he already notified authorities in 2012 that roof leaks at the institution could cause structural damage. He now joins us live in studio. Jack, thank you so much for joining us. We just saw visuals there from the hospital where the leadership of the province, where we saw Mababulo stating on national television that they have made a decision. That company is going to be investigated as to exactly what happened. And I see you've mentioned before that in 2012 you gave out a report, or you gave out a warning to say this was likely to happen. Can you just take us through that and to today's end?
Yes, well, over the years I've received a number of complaints from the staff who are very concerned about the structural stability of the building. There's numerous leaks in the roof. And in fact, last year I visited in March and I took pictures in the oncology department. There was an enormous ceiling hole and they had a huge bucket with rainwater coming in. So I think part of this collapse might have been because of the heavy rains that we've had. But last week, in fact, the ceiling in the dental clinic collapsed. So, you know, there's really problems with this hospital in general. I think there's a huge maintenance backlog. They're now blaming this particular contractor, but I think we need to ask who appointed this contractor. Why was this contractor not monitored properly? Was this contractor competent to do the job? But generally, I think the priority now is obviously to treat the injured, to get the hospital functioning, but I think there needs to be an urgent assessment of the entire hospital so that we know that every part of the hospital is safe.
Now, you mentioned that in 2012 you went out and you sort of went through the hospital and you were shown different areas where there were leakages, where there was a gaping hole and that sort of thing. Did you not pursue other avenues with regards to being the shadow minister in Gauteng? What else was done with regards to ensuring that the leadership or the decision makers are aware of what's happening at the Charlotte Maxeke Hospital?
Well, you know, I've asked numerous questions in the legislature. The last reply I got was that the matter was being attended to and that all the leaks and various things would be assessed. I also asked at one stage for any reports that had been done on the structural integrity, and they said no, there weren't any secret reports. Now, I hope that's true, because there was an earlier report that, you know, an independent report that there were structural problems. The engineer for the province said no, there wasn't a problem. I think you know, we need an independent investigation first of all. We need independent engineers to go through the entire hospital to allay our fears. But I can tell you that there is a massive maintenance backlog there. As I said, you know, parts of the ceiling fall down all the time. There's leakages. There was even a big sewerage problem. Can you imagine? This is our major leading hospital and sewerage is falling through the walls.
Now, could this incident have been avoided, today's collapse?
Well, you know, surely they should appoint competent contractors and they should have listened to the staff and others, including myself, that there were problems with the structural stability of this hospital and something needed to be done. Obviously, we need to get the full facts. But really, you know, I think the way they appoint contractors, some of these I think are suspect contracts, maybe jobs for pals, who knows. And I think I'm going to ask questions in the provincial legislature exactly how they appointed this particular contractor.
Should this particular contractor take the blame, or should it be a holistic, you know, conglomerate? We're looking at the leadership, the decision makers, as you say, that you want answers from the provincial leadership as to why this has taken place. If you have been speaking to them and wanting reports since 2012, we're now in 2017, and you know the time frame there is quite long.
Absolutely, we need to know why the warnings from many sectors were not heeded, and you know why an incompetent contractor apparently was contracted to do this job and seen this tragic incident happening. I must say I'm relieved that it appears there are only 5 people, no deaths, and that they're all hopefully going to speedily recover. But I can tell you that, you know, that is a very busy section of the hospital. Thousands of people would go there. So, I mean, you know, you mustn't toy with this sort of thing. I think it's a very serious matter. I think we need to know that this hospital is safe throughout the hospital, and they must fix up everything that needs to be fixed.
Do you think the hospital management as well should take part of the blame? If the staff members were complaining for a long time about leakages and sewage issues in the hospital, should the management also take the blame?
Well, you know, there's a problem is that maintenance is actually done by a separate department. The poor hospital management has very little control of the fact that who appoints the contractors, and I think that's one of the problems. You know, you've got the Gauteng Health Department, you've got the hospital management, you've got the Gauteng Infrastructure Development Department, which is a very badly run department. That's why I think we get poor contractors appointed, and I would like to see that the power to appoint contractors and do maintenance is devolved to the hospital management. And then I think they would have the powers to do what is done, what is required, to make sure that this is a safe hospital.
Now, Denosa has come out and said that this is a wake-up call for government at large. What's your take on this?
Oh, absolutely. It's a wake-up call. It could have been far, far worse. I shudder to think of how many people could have been under there. So please listen to Denosa, listen to the staff, listen to everybody who's been in that hospital. Patients tell me all the time. As I said, in the dental clinic last week, parts of the ceiling fell down. You know, really act now before something more serious happens.
What else needs to happen for this to be avoided in the future, apart from the appointment of competent construction companies and that process? What else needs to happen? Well,
we must give a high priority to maintenance, and we must spend the budgets that we have. You know, we've had instances where there's a maintenance budget, it wasn't even spent. And then, you know, we don't allocate enough budget. Hopefully, you know, it is spent properly. But this is not the only hospital that there are problems with. I can assure you that I shudder to think that there's other hospitals that need urgent attention. And my appeal to the provincial government, yes, this is a wake-up call. It should never have happened. But now please look at other hospitals, listen to what the staff are saying, and appoint good contractors and, you know, fix problems early, not later, because then it's more difficult and more expensive to fix it.
Now, we saw the MECs coming out and saying that they will be taking legal action against the people who are responsible for the collapse at the hospital. Now, does this tragedy mean you as well as the DA will take the same recourse in terms of legal action?
Well, we're going to monitor this very closely because we've had promises before that, you know, strong action is going to be taken. In fact, the questions I'm going to be asking in the Gauteng legislature about this particular contractor is what other contracts do they have? How did they get them? And was there corruption involved? Unfortunately, you know, the Infrastructure Development Department is really not run very well, and I'd like to see a proper revamp of that entire department so that we get an efficient department that does all the maintenance that's required in all our hospitals and that we don't have patients and staff endangered in this way.
Jack, thank you so much for joining us. We'll have to leave it there for now. That was Jack Bloom, the DA Gauteng Shadow Health MEC, and he was joining us live in studio.